Number 5. Amityville. Believe it or not, there's actually 39 film adaptations made surrounding this case. Yeah, it's the OG case, the first crack at getting this terrifying formula down that we all love today. The Amityville Horror. Yes, the infamous haunting that took place on November 13th, 1974 at 112 Ocean Avenue, Amityville, New York. Well, in some versions, 108 Ocean Avenue. Places like that get really popular, you know? The Amityville Horror is a book by American author Jay Anson, published 1977, and it's also the basis of one of the scariest movies ever released from 1979 onwards. The paranormal experiences by the Lutz family has just led to great movies, you know? Spooky stories. It unfortunately has also led to controversy, lawsuits, name defacing, and of course murders and life sentences. But that was before all the media stuff. Hey, it was gruesome times. The LA Times said it was actually more hideously frightening than The Exorcist because it actually happened. DeFeo was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to 6 life sentences. All of his parole appeals have been denied. For nearly 13 months after the murders, the house remained empty until it was bought by the Lutz family. And cue terrifying movie. When the Lutzes moved in, the furniture from the DeFeo family remained intact from the night of the murders. Yeah, they actually didn't know. They just thought it came furnished. That's a ripoff also, I'd be pissed. New couch smell? Nope, just ghost plasma. Yuck. The Warrens' most famous case was the Amityville haunting. This is where 6 members of the DeFeo family were found dead in their beds in 1974. A year later, the Lutzes moved in, and 28 days of this, basically. Also, let us know in the comments down below which Ed and Lorraine case scares the bejesus out of you the most. Like, which movie won't you watch, you know? I don't do dolls, dude. Annabelle gets me every time, I swear to God.
Number 4. I Feel Fantastic. Now, if you're a student in horrifying, unexplained YouTube clips and legends, perhaps you've been unfortunate enough to run into this one before. But if you haven't, I'm sorry. It's been years since I Feel Fantastic first graced the YouTube algorithm, and yet we're still no closer to understanding, uncovering what's going on here. The video is pretty short and sweet, but I doubt you'll actually be able to finish it. It's a mannequin-looking android named Tara, singing her little song for the camera. Now, she's got the chutzpah down pat, but her natural stage presence could use a little bit of work, maybe her tone too, because she kind of sings discordantly and completely terrifying. It sounds like the kind of thing that you would hear a few minutes before you wake up strapped to an ice-cold slab operating table in a dank basement. The robot, we know, was built by John Bergeron, and that's about all we know. He envisioned his beloved Tara as being an android pop sensation, kind of like what I think Grimes might be. And I really don't want to shut down Tara's career before it's blossomed, but she's got some serious hurdles to solve first. The incredibly unsettling nature of the video caused speculators to run wild with theories about what they were seeing. The most extreme ones go so far as to suggest John was a murderer, and Tara was a mannequin wearing the clothes of his victims. Some suggest he's just a very strange man who wanted a singing companion in his home. In all the years since this clip went viral, we've never got a follow-up on this bizarre video, and I doubt we're ever going to get more answers on this one. I wonder if Tara is still out there, if she's still singing proudly, or if she's rotting in a basement somewhere. I just hope she's still practicing, you know?
Number 3. Bill Ramsey. Okay, so these Warrens have covered it all. Ghosts, demons, succubuses, even vampires. I'd love to see a good vampire movie, you know? Just Juan takes it into his universe. I'd love to see it. But werewolves? Like, for real? No way. In the 80s, they were fascinated with this werewolf legend, so Lorraine and Ed Warren traveled across the world in search of a real-life wolf man. They watched a television program, Sightings, in which police officer and locals got interviewed about their encounters with a local werewolf, Bill Ramsey, in London, England. Bill himself was questioned about his abilities to take on men twice his size with ease, as he would rampage through the city, blacking out. Lorraine felt a strange connection to him after this, and after a short trip to London, she found Bill Ramsey's whereabouts. Through British police departments, Lorraine made contact. Lorraine and Ed discovered that unlike most werewolf folklore, he does not change physically every moon, or it wasn't a bite that originally caused him to transform. Bill Ramsey, according to Lorraine, was possessed by an evil wolf spirit and needed help with a full-blown exorcism. The Warrens brought Bill back to Connecticut to meet Bishop Robert McKenna of Our Lady of the Rosary Catholic Church, and he agreed to perform an exorcism for Bill. The exorcism was a success, and thanks to everyone, today Bill lives a pretty normal life. I'd hope so. This is terrifying. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, if that came to theaters, it would probably slap and horrify at the same time. Good problems, you know? Number 2, Japan tour. In the mid-1990s, Ed and Lorraine found themselves overseas in Japan, visiting Nagoya and Tokyo with a team of translators for a small tour of where Ed was stationed in World War II. And of course, some hauntingly terrifying demonic run-ins. First day, they went to see these haunted tunnels. Second day, they have haunted house run-ins with headless samurai. And thirdly, they witness and help out with a full-blown exorcism. Yeah, talk about a busy week. It's like a Warren 3-in-1 package deal. Their first day consisted of visiting a set of condo buildings apparently riddled with a ghost infestation. Beheaded samurai soldiers haunt the hallways, a ghostly couple and the woman ghost of the gallows haunt the premises. The second night, they visited a haunted salt mine tunnel. Ed said it was the scariest place he had ever been to. The tunnel had buried some odd 200 people alive when an avalanche caved miners in. Ouch. The third night consisted of this. That's right, a very, very unsettling real exorcism. Okay, yeah, I'm not sleeping tonight at all. The Warrens sat in on 3 high priests of knowledge and spirituality known as disciples as they watched an apparent snake demon slither its way out of a person before their very eyes. And of course, this footage of a young woman speaking in not her first language, but tongues. Just moaning in agony. It's kind of hard to watch all that demonicness. Spooky level? 10 out of 10, 100%. And the number 1 spot, Maurice Theroux. And we come to Maurice. This one is terrifying on its own. It doesn't need a 3D movie follow-up. Maurice Theroux began to notice young. He was able to do things that no other man is capable of. Superhuman strength, knowledge of more than his academia showed. He was different. He worked around New England for years doing odd jobs and yet suffering through several relationships. After a physical examination and psychological test failed to bring any solution to the situation, the Warrens were finally called in. The Warrens were gaining popularity as a paranormal aid and had already worked on several cases. The activity ranged from low-level poltergeist activity to this aggressive physical demonic attack stuff. Apparently one night while trying to recite the Hail Mary to make the possession stop, Maurice became so violent he even tried to choke out his own wife. The Warrens made the decision that this was not a normal haunting but a possession and would need the help from Bishop Robert McKenna, who agreed to perform an exorcism. After examining Maurice, Bishop McKenna performed the ritual right away. Dude, that's terrifying. He's just staring off like a reptile. Apparently the demon identified itself simply as, quote, "I am what I am." And also, of course, invoking the kingdom, referring to demons from the legions of evil type stuff. The exorcism was successful, thank God. A young French-Canadian character appears in The Nun, and is supposedly loosely based on the real Maurice, who the Warrens actually think might have been possessed by the devil himself. What do you think?
Number 5, 11BX137. A gadget blog named Gadgets with 2 Z's got international viral attention after they received an exceedingly strange, mysterious CD sent to their address. The blank gold CD has a series of letters and numbers written on it, and no other markers denoting what it could be. The contents of the CD when played are very confusing to say the least, strange and downright horrifying. A hooded figure dressed like a bubonic plague doctor, standing menacingly in what looks like a burnt-out, destroyed remnant of a building. He just sorta appears to be standing and communicating in some kind of code. Wandering, posing, revealing a blinking light emanating from the palm of his hand. Its hand, maybe? This thing does kind of have SCP-049 vibes. After about a minute, the hooded figure faces the wall, where he stays for the remainder of the video. But where the video goes from creepy to I might never sleep again levels of horrifying, is that when you run the audio through a spectrogram, a fancy word for a visualization of sound, images begin to appear of tortured bodies and a chilling threat spelling out, "You are already dead." That's the kind of thing you'd love to receive in the mail unmarked. Internet sleuths the net over came together to try and uncover and unmask this nefarious figure in the terrifying video. Now, if it's any comfort for you, the images found in the spectrogram appear to be excerpts from low-rent horror movies, and people found screen captures that matched up pretty well. Speculation ran wild as to what this video could possibly mean. Was there a secret message or a threat behind its cryptic codes? Was it just an advertisement for something? Or just a bored artist trying to get somebody's attention the only way he knew how? Well, eventually, someone did come forward. A man by the name of Parker Warner Wright claims to be the plague doctor in the video, and said the reason for the video was nothing more than an art project to entertain and confuse people. Like most cryptic scary artists, when he was asked about why the video was made, all he had to say was, I see my work as waves on the oceans. Thanks.
Number 4. The Haunted. In 1991, the works of the late great Warrens was finally approached again after years of their demonic work had slowly and surely began to surface. They began fighting the good fight since the 40s, remember? With the success of the Amityville horror in the late 70s and the popularity it brought to the demonology topic within the US, the Warrens' name and reputation was finally appreciated, and they gifted us another gem of a story to film. This 2-hour, made-for-TV film based on the horrific events that took place within the Smurl home in the 80s. The Haunted, released by 20th Century Fox, earned itself 2 Golden Globe nominations. The case file of the Smurl's haunted house in Pennsylvania in the 1970s was infamous for not only demons, but a certain type of evil entity, the incubus and the succubus. This demonic pair usually haunts a sleeping person, and their possession is usually based around a more explicit manner of haunting. Yeah, Google it up, you'll get it. This film does a semi-tasteful 90s job at expressing what the Smurls were actually working with. Spoiler alert, it's pretty messed up. Demons almost quote-unquote breeding with those it possesses. The Smurls' version of their story was the subject of a 1986 paperback book titled The Haunted, of course, where this movie of the same name gets its inspiration from. The Warrens are introduced and explored for the first time in this film. Like many of the film adaptations, the Warrens are first seen performing college lectures into various hauntings. Lorraine is portrayed by Diane Baker. Ed is played by Stephen Markle. A pretty 90s feel to it, you know? Grainy, it's a little campy at times, but it's the first formula to this huge film franchise. Isn't it cool that Ed and Lorraine have been part of the modern horror scene for like 70 years? Their cases have been a part of the horror landscape way before Juan developed his Conjuring universe. Whether you believe in these cases or not, it's clear that they've made an impact.
Number 3. Croatian stalker. Do you ever feel like someone might be watching you? I know I do. Quite a lot, although it could be because someone is watching me right now, you're watching me right now, but I also just mean in my day-to-day. It's spine-chilling to imagine that somebody's following you without you realizing for gosh knows what and trailing you around, preventing you from feeling safe. This next video, appropriately and concisely titled Croatian Stalking Tape, is a footage of 2 men recording themselves being pursued by a masked stranger. And according to the uploader, this was the last time either of them were ever seen. The video was uploaded not by anyone in the video, but rather a third party who somehow got a hold of it. And the only evidence we can find for it is that he claims it was recorded in 2005 and is a piece of evidence in a missing persons case for these 2 individuals. In the video, we can clearly see the 2 friends initially enjoying a night on the town together when they're apprehended by a very strange man wearing a sack over his head. You know, normal stuff. At first, the sack-clad man appears, well, I don't want to say friendly per se, but he's not outwardly hostile. Just bizarre. Slouching and bending and walking in a way that kind of intones that either it's not a human or it's a human who's had a really long night. The 2 friends then try their best to elude the pursuer, who does not seem keen on letting them go. They try to lose him by making their way to a hotel lobby, where they proceed to call for an elevator to try and find some respite from their stalker, only for the elevator door to open and show them the last thing they could have ever wanted to see, as they are face to face with the sack man and the doors close. If the video uploader is to be believed, this could really be the last thing they ever saw. It was hard to try and find any more information about this video. I did some digging, but I couldn't get any solid answers as to where this came from, who these people were, and if they really went missing. There's some speculation that it could be a very elaborate fake, which is always a possibility. Let me know if anybody's got any intel on this one.
Number 2 on this list is The Masked Man. This is really chilling stuff and was apparently released by the police in an attempt to find the people involved. Once again, we have a clip centered around 2 boys, and once again, they go missing. This time though, it happens in 2005 in Croatia, and we also get a far better view of the man responsible for the disappearances in this one as well. The clip starts out innocently enough with 2 lads just messing around in the park. At one point though, they see a dark figure in the distance. At this time though, they aren't on high alert and don't think much of it. Fast forward a bit though, and he starts to approach them.
Dobro, daj joj.
Korak.
Nemam pojma, daj ga šutni, znaš. Daj ga šutni.
Neću se. Mislim da je pijan, neću.
Okej, mislim da idemo. A on mi odavde.
Slobodi se, ti mu vidio facu, nema ga, sigurno.
Pa naravno da sam vidio facu, vidi se.
Nisam skužio, čekaj, kaj je bilo?
So at first, they didn't think it was anything, but then the creepy man came after them. This isn't the end of the story though, as the clip continues. The guys are now in a different area recapping what just happened. Soon afterwards though, the man shows up again, and now the gents are starting to really get concerned. They run away and get to an apartment building. This is where we believe the disappearance actually occurs.
Creepy. Koji kat?
Peti kat.
Just for a split second we saw him. The man with the mask right in the elevator waiting for the guys. No one knows what happened to these guys and who that masked man was. All we have is this tape and a very sad and scary story.
Number 1. Sad Satan. Sad Satan is a deeply mysterious, lost video game allegedly emanating from the dark web. And it's wrapped in intrigue and controversy and has all the makings of a great classic internet urban legend. The game first came into the mainstream when the owner of the now defunct Obscure Horror Corner YouTube channel was sent a link to this strange game, with the sender saying that they found it on a deep web page where users could post random files. The actual game's contents are deeply disturbing and unsettling. It truly feels like something you were never meant to see. There's not a whole lot of depth to the gameplay. It just features the player wandering down maze after maze of monochromatic hallways. A strange audio plays all around you from all sorts of sources, like an old Swedish number station, disembodied, blood-curdling screams. In some versions of the game, there are enemies that appear to be ghostly children figures standing in the maze with you. Images flash repeatedly through the gameplay, featuring pictures of notorious criminals. Audio from recordings of criminals like Charles Manson can be heard and seen. The game ends rather abruptly. If you run into any of the haunted children in the game, they'll end you and the game will be over. The mystery behind Sad Satan is arguably bigger than the game itself. Where did it come from? To date, no one truly knows who developed it or why or what their intentions even were. After the game became big thanks to the Obscure Horror Corner, there was a drove of interest in the game, leading to sinister double copies being passed around online masquerading as the real one. And these variants would include things like illegal content inside the game or dangerous malware, as users had reported that their computers would act sluggish or even outright shut down irreversibly after downloading the widely released copy. The Obscure Horror channel shut down after Sad Satan started to get attention, leading to a ton of speculation there. Was the original uploader of the video the creator of the game and he was trying to garner some sort of viral reputation for it? Or did he feel some sort of guilt or responsibility for getting this game out into the mainstream? It's been years and we're still no closer to getting any of the answers on this.
Number 5 on this list is the Paraguayan tape. So there really isn't any given name for this, but I'm calling it the Paraguayan tape because this footage was discovered in Paraguay several years ago. The footage only really surfaced a few years ago, but it was actually filmed way before that. This footage was taken back in 1994 by what looks to be some children. The clip itself is an amalgamation of a bunch of several second long clips that don't really make a cohesive narrative but are just super eerie. This, also coupled with the audio, makes this clip extremely scary. The audio is a bunch of screams and cries and weird noises that don't even sound human. Some people have chalked it up to being the poor recording equipment, but I really don't think so. Let's play you guys 30 seconds of this clip so you can get an idea what this thing is all about. So that's the first 30 seconds of the video, and as we can see, it's just super creepy. Also, at the end of the clip there, it looked like several teens were running to help one of their friends up off the ground. So either that friend tripped and fell or was attacked by something, and it's tough to say. No one knows what happened to these kids who recorded this or why they made it in the first place. Although I would wager a bet that something bad probably transpired. Everything that I've seen here looks like all the telltale signs of demonic demonic intervention. Let's just hope that this clip wasn't actually the last documented video of these people alive. Number 4 on this list is Deep in the Woods. Back in 2006, there were 2 men who disappeared off the face of the earth. No one knew what happened to them or where they went. That picture got a lot clearer though when this video popped up. In 2007, a YouTube channel called LH posted this clip that was presumably filmed back in 2006. The video follows the exploits of these 2 young men in what the viewer is led to believe is their last moments on planet Earth. The 2 men start out by driving their car into the woods. They pass by a gate and then get to another one which they can't seem to open for some reason. They then get their flashlights and proceed into the darkness on foot. This is where it all goes to hell though. In the clip that I'm about to show you, we will see these 2 men walking through the woods and hear a loud animalistic noise. Then something will jump out at them, so fair warning. So as we can see, a creature lunged forward at the 2 men and got them running back to the car. Then the camera dropped and presumably this was the end of our 2 lads. If we kept playing that clip, then we would have seen one more thing, which is one of the men falling before the camera and then getting dragged off. So I think it's safe to say that these 2 guys didn't make it out of this battle unscathed. What they were doing there, what this thing was, and what ultimately happened to them is all unknown though. For all we know, they got dragged back to this thing's lair and they could still be there today. Number 3 on this list is the possession. This next clip is from 2 decades ago in Portugal. The YouTuber Chills has actually covered this video before and even he is pretty terrified of it. The video was filmed on an old camcorder back in 2001. The quality is pretty atrocious, which can be expected from an old camera. The video is centered around several young boys hanging out. It starts off with them just innocently playing, but then they end up doing something they really shouldn't have. They try to contact the dead. As we've seen time and time again, regardless of how you attempt to do this, it usually turns out pretty bad. And that's pretty much what happens here with these boys. In the clip that I'm about to show you, one of the boys gets possessed by some type of demon and falls to the ground convulsing.
Então, ai caraças, posso destino.
Nem ficou stilo, nem
Merda, foste, não há, opa, sério, não há.
Não ficou stilo, não ficou stilo.
Como eu foste,
Peraí, André, peraí, opa, olha aí.
Opa, calma-se. Stilo, opa, não brinques tu também, meu.
Mas eu, meu, fui.
Stilo.
Ainda mais gajo não sabe.
Opa, calma-se mesmo, assim. Stilo.
Mas
não, não me só.
Eventually the boy gets up and he's no longer himself. His voice is not his own and the words he's saying are not the ones that he would normally say. It's clear that he's been possessed by some type of demon. Now this video of theirs is almost 40 minutes long and that possession took place at the 5-minute mark. After he gets possessed, he runs out of the home and the lights turn off. The kids are obviously super frightened and don't know what's going on. What ultimately happened to this guy and the demon that possessed him, we may never know for sure.
Number 2, video dating. Hey, dating is hard. We've all been there. Let me tell you, since that Dahmer show dropped on Netflix, it's not been easy for me. In today's world, it can be so hard to meet that perfect match, especially if you're on the brink of sanity. This video, uploaded entitled Video Dating Tape, was allegedly found in the VCR purchased at a car boot sale, which, if you're not familiar with that term, it's kind of like an English flea market where you sell stuff out of your cars. The VHS is a low-quality clip of someone innocently enough trying to prevent themselves for a video dating service. It starts with a 36-year-old man, Tony, kind of awkwardly explaining what he's all about. You know how they go. We've all been there. Where it starts to get unsettling though is the discordant screaming that we can hear in the background, and the guy in the video seems like he's mentally degrading very fast.
Someone that can
He starts smacking himself in the head in frustration, tripping over his words, and accidentally revealing probably a lot more than he means to. especially when he starts to say funny, flirty little things like, "I'm looking for someone who doesn't mind disappearing for a long time," and cute little sweet nothings like, "I'm looking for someone who likes a long walk on the beach and someone I can spend the rest of their life with." Now the video is almost too perfect, you know? And the only thing that makes you wonder if maybe it's not a fake is just how convincingly creepy this 36-year-old bachelor is acting. If anyone has got some answers for this one, please let me know, because this one really did send a chill down my spine trying to watch it. And hey, if anyone wants, at the end of the video, Tony left his address if you'd like to reach out to him if you like pina coladas getting caught in the rain and want to spend the rest of your life with him.
And finally, number 1 on this list is the Paris catacombs. The Paris catacombs is one of the creepiest collection of tunnels in the entire world. They were built many years ago and have thousands of dead remains from people back in the day. Many people over the years have speculated on them being extremely haunted, and video footage like this definitely helps add fuel to that fire. The following footage was found on a video recorder deep in the catacombs several years ago.
It's very bizarre. These arrows point in a direction. Occasionally also he stops to photograph roomfuls of bones, which means that he's very deep inside the catacombs. So basically he's filming what he's seeing very deep inside the catacombs, other than the point of view shots or pictures of human bones. The catacombs for centuries.
So my dude is deep inside the catacombs, as the narrator of that clip says. All of a sudden though, things start going wrong.
Decide which way to run among all the many different corridors. He's running faster and faster and faster, deeper and deeper into the catacombs. And all of a sudden,
now we don't actually know why he started running, but he just did. Clearly something was chasing him that we can't see on the camera. This is truly all we know though. What was after him and if he managed to survive, that's anyone's guess.